The Galactic Council chambers buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 12 different species gathered around the crystalline conference table. Admiral Zexthai of the Valerian Empire adjusted his forearms restlessly, his scaled hide shifting from deep purple to anxious green. Across from him, General Korth of the Bruthan clans flexed his massive fists, each the size of a human head. "The humans refuse to yield," Zexthai announced, his translated voice carrying through the chamber's acoustic enhancers. "3 standard cycles we have demanded their surrender, and still they resist our rightful expansion into their pathetic solar system." Commander Yilsha of the Nexari Collective leaned forward, her serpentine neck coiling with interest. "Their resistance is unexpected. Our intelligence suggested they were a primitive species, barely capable of interplanetary travel." "Primitive, yes," growled General Korth, his tusks gleaming, "but stubborn beyond reason. My advance fleets report that human vessels, though technologically inferior, fight with a ferocity that defies tactical analysis. They ram our ships when their weapons fail. They detonate their own vessels rather than surrender. It's disturbing." The holographic display at the center of the table flickered to life, showing the Sol system. Red markers indicated human defensive positions, while blue ones showed the positions of the 12-species Alliance fleet. The humans were vastly outnumbered, their technology centuries behind the galactic standard, yet they held critical choke points with surprising effectiveness. "Perhaps," suggested Ambassador Thren of the crystal-based Quillian hegemony, his voice like wind chimes in a storm, "we should examine their military more closely. Understanding their training methods might explain this unexpected resistance." Admiral Zexthai's secondary eyes focused on a data pad. "Our intelligence has identified their elite warriors. They call them Navy SEALs, an acronym for sea, air, and land operations. These humans train in multiple environments, enduring physical and mental challenges that would break most of our own warriors." "Impossible," scoffed General Korth. "Humans are soft, weak creatures. Their average lifespan is barely a century. What could they possibly teach warriors who have trained for millennia?" Commander Yilsha's forked tongue tasted the air thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is precisely why they fight so desperately. They know they have little time, so they make every moment count." The chamber fell silent as they contemplated this. The assembled species had conquered thousands of worlds through superior technology and overwhelming force. None had ever encountered a species that seemed to grow stronger under pressure rather than breaking. "I propose a demonstration," Admiral Zexthai announced suddenly. "Let us invite their finest warrior to face our greatest champions. When we prove their weakness publicly, their resistance will crumble." General Korth laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Excellent. I volunteer my finest hunter-killer, Grimjaw the Reaper. He has never known defeat across 47 worlds." "Wait," Commander Yilsha interjected, her scales shifting to a cautious yellow. "I have reviewed the tactical reports more thoroughly. These Navy SEALs, they do not fight like normal soldiers. They adapt, improvise, overcome obstacles that should be impossible. Perhaps we should reconsider." "Cowardice," General Korth rumbled. "The humans have you spooked with their desperate thrashing. They are insects before our might." Ambassador Thren's crystal form pulsed with uncertainty. "The Quillian archives contain references to species like this. Rare, but historically significant. They called them unbreakable spirits, beings who become more dangerous when cornered." "Superstition," Admiral Zexthai dismissed. "We will proceed with the challenge. Let one of their Navy SEALs face our greatest warrior. When they fall, their species will understand the futility of resistance." The holographic display shifted, showing intercepted human communications. Videos of Navy SEAL training played across the chamber, humans enduring hypothermia in freezing water, carrying massive loads across impossible terrain, functioning without sleep for days. The alien commanders watched with growing unease. In one video, a human trainee was buried alive, left to escape using only his wits and basic tools. In another, teams navigated underwater obstacles while holding their breath far longer than should have been physiologically possible. Most disturbing was footage of wounded SEALs continuing their missions despite injuries that would have incapacitated any of the alien species present. "They seem to thrive on suffering," observed Commander Yilshaw quietly. "This is not normal behavior for any species we have encountered." "It proves their desperation," General Korth insisted, though his voice carried less conviction than before. "A cornered animal appears dangerous, but it remains just an animal." Admiral Zexthai studied the data streams flowing across his personal display. Human resistance had not weakened despite months of siege. If anything, their tactics had become more creative, more unpredictable. Ships appeared where sensors indicated empty space. Supply lines were disrupted by forces that shouldn't have existed. Human commanders seemed to anticipate alien strategies before they were even implemented. "Very well," he decided finally. "We will issue the challenge. Their greatest warrior against our finest. But we choose the battleground, the weapons, the rules of engagement." "And if their warrior wins?" asked Ambassador Thren, his crystal facets refracting nervous light patterns. The chamber fell silent. The possibility had not been seriously considered. "Impossible," General Korth stated flatly. "My hunter-killer has never been defeated. He stands 3 meters tall, weighs 400 kilograms of pure muscle, and possesses reflexes enhanced by genetic modification. No soft human could—" "Then you should have no objection to making the stakes meaningful," Commander Yilshaw interrupted smoothly. "If their warrior wins, we withdraw from the Sol system for 1 standard year and negotiate properly." Admiral Zexthai considered this. A year would be nothing in the grand scheme of galactic conquest, and the victory would demoralize human resistance across multiple star systems. "Agreed," he announced. "Send the message to Earth. Let them send their finest Navy SEAL to face Grimjaw the Reaper in single combat. When their champion falls, their spirit will break with him." The transmission was sent through quantum channels, reaching Earth within hours. The human response came back with surprising speed and unexpected confidence. "Challenge accepted. Our representative will meet your warrior at the designated coordinates. We have only one request, that the combat be broadcast across all Allied fleets, so both our peoples can witness the outcome." Admiral Zexthai's scales rippled with anticipation. The humans' eagerness to have their defeat witnessed publicly would make their ultimate surrender even more complete. As the alien commanders dispersed to prepare for the spectacle, none noticed Commander Yilshaw's quiet consultation with her personal archives. Deep in classified Nexari files, she found references to a pattern that had appeared throughout galactic history. Species that seemed weak, that were underestimated by greater powers, sometimes possessed qualities that transcended mere technological advantage. The last such entry was over 10,000 years old. It described a small, seemingly primitive species that had faced extinction at the hands of a vast interstellar empire. Against all logical odds, they had not only survived, but had somehow convinced their would-be conquerors to withdraw and seek peaceful coexistence. The file was marked with a single word that made Commander Yilshaw's blood run cold: unbreakable. She stared at the tactical displays showing human defensive positions, noting how they had adapted their strategies to compensate for technological disadvantages. Where logic said they should have retreated, they advanced. Where conventional wisdom suggested surrender, they fought harder. Perhaps, she thought with growing dread, General Korth's confidence was about to be tested in ways none of them had anticipated. The neutral asteroid designated as the combat zone had been hastily converted into an arena. Massive energy shields contained the fighting space while allowing full sensor observation from the assembled fleet. Ships from 12 alien species formed a loose circle around the rock, their crews eagerly anticipating the spectacle. Grimjaw the Reaper arrived first, his transport ship docking with dramatic flair. The Bruthan champion emerged in full ceremonial armor, each piece inscribed with the names of worlds he had conquered and warriors he had slain. Standing 3 meters tall and weighing 400 kilograms, he moved with surprising grace for his massive frame. His hide was scarred from countless battles, and his tusks bore metal caps that could punch through starship hull plating. The alien commanders watched from Admiral Zexthai's flagship as Grimjaw tested the arena's gravity, atmosphere, and lighting. Everything had been set to favor the Bruthan physiology: slightly higher gravity than Earth normal, atmosphere with elevated oxygen content that would give his enhanced metabolism even greater advantage, and lighting in spectrums that would impair human vision while enhancing his own. Magnificent, General Korth rumbled with pride. Grimjaw has never been defeated. He has killed champions from 6 different species, including the legendary Iron Serpents of Vex Prime. Commander Yilsha studied the tactical displays with growing unease. Have we received confirmation of which human will represent them? They have been vague about that, Admiral Zexthai admitted. Our intelligence suggests they will send someone called Master Chief, presumably their highest-ranking Navy SEAL. The human transport appeared on sensors as a small, unmarked vessel that looked more like a cargo hauler than a military ship. It docked with minimal fanfare, and the airlock opened to reveal a figure that made the assembled aliens question their intelligence reports. The human who stepped into the arena was not particularly large by galactic standards, perhaps 1.8 meters tall and weighing maybe 80 kilograms. He wore simple combat fatigues without ceremonial decoration, carried basic equipment, and moved with the casual confidence of someone taking a morning walk. Most shocking of all, he appeared to be in his 50s, ancient by the standards of a species with such short lifespans. That's their champion? General Korth laughed. He looks like he should be in a retirement facility, not a combat arena. The human introduced himself simply as Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, United States Navy SEALs. His voice was calm, almost conversational, as if he were discussing the weather rather than preparing for mortal combat. Grimjaw roared a challenge that echoed through the arena, beating his chest and displaying his massive weapons. Chief Webb nodded politely and began a quiet inspection of the fighting space, seemingly oblivious to the intimidation display. Is the human defective? Admiral Zexthai wondered aloud. He shows no fear response, no aggressive posturing, no preparation rituals. Commander Yilsha had been monitoring human communications and found their confidence disturbing. Admiral, I'm detecting unusual patterns in human fleet communications. They're celebrating, as if they've already won. Impossible. No rational species would celebrate before such an obviously hopeless contest. The combat rules were simple. Fight until one combatant yielded, was incapacitated, or died. Weapons were restricted to what each warrior brought with them. The arena was a roughly circular space 50 meters in diameter, with various obstacles and elevation changes to make the fight more interesting. As the final preparations concluded, Chief Webb did something that confused every alien observer. He sat down cross-legged in the center of the arena and appeared to enter some kind of meditation state. His breathing slowed, his muscles relaxed, and he seemed to simply wait. Grimjaw interpreted this as either supreme arrogance or mental breakdown. With a bone-shaking roar, he charged across the arena, his massive war hammer trailing energy fields designed to pulverize starship armor. What happened next defied every tactical analysis program in the alien fleet. Chief Webb moved at the last possible instant, not away from Grimjaw's charge, but slightly to one side and forward. As the Bruthan warrior's momentum carried him past, the human's hands moved with surgical precision to touch two specific points on Grimjaw's anatomy. The massive alien stumbled, his nervous system suddenly unreliable, and crashed into the arena wall with enough force to crack the reinforced barriers. "Impossible," General Korth whispered. "Grimjaw's hide is tougher than battle armor. A human's soft hands cannot—" Grimjaw recovered quickly, his enhanced physiology shrugging off what should have been crippling nerve strikes. He spun with his warhammer, sweeping in an arc that should have bisected the human warrior. Chief Webb ducked under the swing and moved again, this time striking pressure points that made Grimjaw's left arm go temporarily numb. The pattern continued for several minutes. Grimjaw would attack with overwhelming force and superior reach, only to find the human no longer where he expected. Chief Webb's movements were economical, purposeful, and seemed to have an almost supernatural precision. He wasn't trying to overpower his opponent, he was systematically dismantling him. "How is he doing this?" Admiral Zexthai demanded. "Our sensors show the human is operating at normal physiological parameters. No enhancement, no hidden technology, no unusual genetic modifications." Commander Yilsha studied her tactical displays with growing dread. "Admiral, I believe we have made a fundamental error in our assessment. We assumed that strength and technology determined combat effectiveness. Of course they do. It's basic physics. But look at the combat analysis. The human is not trying to match the Bruthan's strength. He's using it against him. Every time Grimjaw commits to an attack, he becomes vulnerable. The human seems to know exactly where that vulnerability will be before Grimjaw himself knows where he's going to strike." In the arena, Chief Webb finally went on the offensive. Grimjaw, frustrated by his inability to land a solid hit, had left himself overextended after a particularly vicious swing. The human stepped inside his reach and delivered a series of strikes that looked almost gentle compared to the Bruthan's massive blows. Grimjaw collapsed like a felled tree. The arena fell silent except for the Bruthan warrior's labored breathing. He was alive but completely unable to move, his nervous system temporarily shut down by precise applications of pressure at points his species had never known existed. Chief Webb checked his opponent's condition with professional detachment, then turned toward the observation windows and spoke in that same conversational tone. "Your champion will recover in approximately 6 hours. The nerve disruption is temporary. I would recommend medical attention to ensure there are no complications." General Korth stared at his defeated champion in shock. "This is impossible. Grimjaw has never been beaten. He has crushed the bones of warriors who could tear apart starships with their bare hands." "And yet," Commander Yilsha observed quietly, "he was defeated by an aging human who never even raised his voice." Admiral Zexthai's scales had gone completely pale. "How? Our analysis showed humans as physically inferior in every measurable way." Chief Webb seemed to hear the question through the arena's communication system. He looked up at the alien fleet with what might have been sympathy. "You measured the wrong things," he said simply. "You counted our technology, our numbers, our physical strength. But you never asked about our experience. Grimjaw is strong, fast, and well-trained, but he's never fought anything that didn't try to match his strength. We've been fighting for our entire history, against each other, against nature, against impossible odds. We learned a long time ago that the strongest warrior isn't always the one who wins." The implications of his words sank in slowly. If one aging human could defeat the greatest champion of the Bruthan clans, what did that suggest about the Navy SEALs as a whole? What did it mean for their invasion plans? "The combat terms are satisfied," Chief Webb announced. "We'll expect your withdrawal from the Sol system as agreed. If you'd like to discuss this more reasonably in the future, Earth will be open to proper negotiations." As he walked back to his transport ship, The human warrior moved with the same casual confidence he'd shown at the beginning. He had not been changed by the combat, had not been elevated or diminished by victory. He had simply done his job. The alien fleet hung in space around the asteroid, their commanders struggling to process what they had witnessed. The humans had not just won a single combat, they had demonstrated capabilities that made every strategic assumption questionable. Commander Yilsha finally broke the silence. "Admiral, I recommend we honor the agreement immediately. And I further recommend we begin serious diplomatic overtures rather than planning future military action." Admiral Zexthai nodded slowly, his confidence shattered. "Signal the fleet. We withdraw as agreed." As the massive alien armada began its retreat from human space, a single question haunted every commander present. If this was what one of their warriors could do, what were they capable of when they fought as a unit? 6 months had passed since the arena combat that shook the foundations of galactic military doctrine. The Galactic Council chambers were noticeably different now. Representatives spoke in hushed tones, and the arrogant confidence that had characterized their previous meetings had been replaced by cautious uncertainty. Admiral Zexthai stood before a massive holographic display showing human space, but the markers had changed dramatically. Where once red indicators had shown desperate defensive positions, green ones now marked thriving trade routes and diplomatic embassies. Human ships moved freely through sectors that had been considered secure alien territory for millennia. "The situation has become complex," he announced to the assembled commanders. "Human expansion has accelerated beyond all projections. They are not conquering worlds, but they are achieving something far more disturbing. They are making allies." Commander Yilsha activated her personal display, showing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. 23 species have established formal diplomatic relations with Earth in the past 6 months. 17 more have signed trade agreements. Most concerning, several of these species were previously considered firmly within our sphere of influence. General Korth, notably subdued since his champion's defeat, studied tactical projections with growing alarm. "How is this possible? They have no significant military fleet, no advanced technology to offer, no vast resources to trade. What could they possibly offer that we cannot?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Ambassador Thren's crystal form pulsed with information gathered from the Quillian Collective's deep space monitoring networks. "They offer something we never considered valuable, solutions." "Explain," Admiral Zexthai demanded. "The humans approach problems differently than we do. Where we apply overwhelming force or superior technology, they adapt and improvise." The Kepler Mining Collective was facing extraction difficulties in the Tau Ceti system, problems that had persisted for decades despite our best technological solutions. A team of human engineers solved the issue in 3 weeks using techniques we had never considered. Commander Yilsha added her own intelligence to the discussion. The Andrax Republic had been locked in a territorial dispute with the Zephyr Confederacy for over 2 centuries. Both sides had spent enormous resources on military buildup with no resolution. A single human diplomat arrived last month and negotiated a settlement that both sides actually prefer to their original positions. "This is impossible," General Korth protested. "Diplomatic protocols require generations of careful negotiation, detailed treaty frameworks, and extensive technological guarantees. How could one human—" "They ignore our protocols," Commander Yilsha interrupted. "The human diplomat apparently sat both sides down in the same room and asked them what they actually wanted, not what their formal positions required them to want. The solution involved concepts we had never considered, resource-sharing arrangements that benefit both sides more than exclusive territorial control." Admiral Zexthai felt his carefully ordered understanding of galactic politics crumbling. "And the other species simply accepted this?" "More than accepted. They're requesting human advisors for their own diplomatic challenges." The Virax Empire has invited a human team to help resolve internal conflicts that have persisted for 600 years. The implications were staggering. For millennia, the Galactic Council had maintained power through a careful balance of military superiority and technological advancement. Species joined their alliance because the alternatives were conquest or isolation. But the humans were offering a third option: partnership based on mutual benefit rather than dominance. "There is more," Ambassador Thren announced, his crystal facets shifting to warning colors. "Our surveillance networks have detected unusual activity in human space. They are not building warships as we expected, but they are constructing something far more concerning: training facilities." The holographic display shifted to show Earth's orbital infrastructure. Massive installations hung in space around the planet, each one designed for different types of environmental training. Desert survival stations, Arctic warfare platforms, underwater combat facilities, zero-gravity urban warfare complexes. "They are sharing their training methods," Commander Yilshaw realized with horror. Species that have requested human military advisors are sending their elite forces to Earth for instruction. General Korth stared at the intelligence reports in disbelief. "The Canary shock troops, the finest warriors in the galaxy, are attending human boot camp?" "Not just attending, excelling. Initial reports suggest that Canary soldiers who complete human training show 40% improvement in combat effectiveness, 60% better survival rates in hostile environments, and unprecedented adaptability in unexpected situations." Admiral Zexthai felt a chill that had nothing to do with the chamber's temperature control. "Show me the training footage." The displays filled with images that defied every assumption about proper military instruction. Alien warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds were crawling through mud, while human instructors shouted encouragement. Species that had never known physical hardship were enduring deliberate suffering as part of their education. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to be enjoying it. "The humans call it building character," Commander Yilshaw explained. "They deliberately create impossible situations and force their trainees to find solutions. The alien participants report that the experience fundamentally changes how they approach problems." "This is madness," General Korth muttered. "Military training should focus on weapons proficiency, tactical doctrine, and technological superiority." "And yet," Ambassador Thren observed, "species that have undergone human training are showing remarkable improvements in all areas. The Nexari Third Fleet completed a mission last month that our own tactical computers had classified as impossible. When asked how they succeeded, the fleet commander simply said they had learned to adapt and overcome." Admiral Zexthai realized that the humans were not just changing individual perspectives, they were fundamentally altering the nature of galactic civilization. The old order, based on technological superiority and military dominance, was being replaced by something far more dangerous: genuine cooperation and shared improvement. "What of their own military capabilities?" he asked desperately. "Surely they remain limited by their technological disadvantages." Commander Yilshaw's response was the final blow to his hopes. "Sir, we may have been asking the wrong questions. Our latest intelligence suggests that the human military is not trying to match our technological capabilities. They are developing entirely different approaches to warfare." The display showed classified footage of human military exercises. Small teams of soldiers were accomplishing objectives that should have required entire battalions. They moved through environments that should have been impossible to navigate, survived conditions that should have been fatal, and solved tactical problems in ways that military computers couldn't even model. "They don't fight wars the way we do," Commander Yilshaw continued. "They don't try to overwhelm enemies with superior firepower. Instead, they identify critical weaknesses and exploit them with surgical precision. Our military doctrine assumes that battles are won through technological advantage and numerical superiority. Theirs assumes that battles are won by better-trained, more adaptable warriors. General Korth studied the footage with the growing realization that everything he understood about warfare might be fundamentally flawed. But surely they cannot stand against our full military might. Numbers and technology must count for something. Perhaps, Commander Yilsha admitted, but consider this. We have been unable to field any warrior capable of defeating one aging human in single combat. Our intelligence suggests that Chief Webb was not even among their elite forces. He was described as a good, solid operator by human standards, if that represents their average capability. The sentence hung unfinished, but its implications were clear. If an average human warrior could defeat the greatest champion of the Bruthan clans, what could their actual elite forces accomplish? Admiral Zexthai made a decision that would have been unthinkable 6 months earlier. Signal the human embassy. Request a formal meeting to discuss mutual cooperation. Sir? General Korth looked shocked. Are you suggesting we negotiate with them as equals? I am suggesting, Admiral Zexthai replied slowly, that we may have been wrong about who the inferior species actually is. The humans defeated us without firing a shot, gained allies without making threats, and improved their partners rather than dominating them. Perhaps it is time we learned what they have to teach. The response from Earth came within hours, and its tone was perfectly characteristic of everything they had learned about human diplomacy. No demands, no conditions, no triumphant gloating. Simply, we would welcome the opportunity to discuss how our species might work together for mutual benefit. Earth looks forward to learning from your experiences while sharing our own perspectives. As the Galactic Council prepared for negotiations that would reshape the balance of power across known space, one truth had become undeniable. The humans had not won through superior strength or technology. They had won by being willing to help others become stronger. And in a galaxy where power had always been a zero-sum game, that approach was proving to be the most revolutionary force any species had ever encountered. The age of human dominance was beginning, not through conquest, but through the simple radical act of making everyone around them better than they had been before. And the most terrifying thing of all, from the perspective of the old galactic order, was that the humans seemed genuinely happy to share their methods with anyone willing to learn.